My name is Mena Mongan and I'm an Irish traveller and I work at LGT. I'm a Community Engagement Officer.
Hi guys, my name's Tracie Giles. I also work at LGT and I'm a community campaigner and I'm also a professional psychotherapist.
We are here today to talk about self-care and what is self-care among the traveller gypsy community.
Self-care obviously comes under your mental health and your well-being. Mental health is a positive state of our minds and body. It's a feeling that we feel safe and able to cope and are able to communicate. So it's a positive thing. Ill mental health is the opposite. It's when someone has been diagnosed with a form of mental health illness. And for example, depression, anxiety is kind of really a common one that people get diagnosed with. So mental health is a good thing. It's looking at your state of mind and how you're coping.
So we hope we're addressing it just a little bit to make people comfortable about speaking out.
A lot of gypsies and travellers face a lot of prejudice and discrimination on lots of levels, you know, whether it be around their housing situation, education, employment and health. So we are every day coping with all of that, and that does affect our mental health. But more recently in this pandemic, we have been isolated. The majority of gypsies and travellers are probably isolating with multi-generational family groups. So we have our elderly to look after, we have our vulnerable to look after, we have our children and our grandchildren to look after, and seeing to everybody else's needs and not being able to address your own needs first will absolutely, you know, exhaust you and you will crash and burn. That's why we wanted to talk a little bit about self-care, acknowledging that self-care is a good thing. It's not a selfish thing.
As a mother, we know, as I know from personal experience, I will put my family, my friends, my neighbours first. Mothers always will leave themselves at the back and think you're strong, you're coping. You know, you'll worry about the children's mental health and self-care and the elderly around you and your friends and family. But there's times when you just need that one friend, that one good friend that's worth, you know, its weight in gold, that you just can have time out with and, you know, sit down and just talk about yourself.
Being able to have a connection with someone where you're able to communicate some of your true feelings is so, so important. And I echo that not just to the women in the community, but to the men as well, because we are seeing more and more, you know, particularly within the gypsy and travelling community, more and more suicide in young men. If you could catch them before it got to that stage, if someone was there where people are able to communicate how they feel without feeling ashamed.
Do you think as well, Tracie, it's carried through generations? You're brought up to just not speak about it?
Absolutely. And I mean, even within my own family, it's there's taboos, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's, for men, there's shame.
Yeah.
You know, it's shameful for men to cry. It's shameful for men to say how they feel. And for women, it's the same. The women have got to be strong. They can't seem to be weak because they've got to keep the home going, or they've got to look after all the children. They've got to be strong for the man. But, you know, it's no good to either man or woman. This whole thing about being isolated and put in shutdown and, you know, people can't go out to work and do their daily routine and having the fear of, you know, is COVID going to affect our families because we live in close-knit families. You know, and it's bringing up so much for people. People are suffering with anxiety, depression. You know, there's a lot of domestic violence taking place. If we don't address it, we bury it, we push it down inside of ourselves. And then what happens is that turns into something else. And then we'll do other things that might not benefit us, like addiction, or, you know, or get upset with other people and or be aggressive, because it will turn into something else if you don't deal with it.
Yeah, so true.
People listening can take, even if it's one thing away from this conversation, how they can stop and think in a day of how they need to look after their own mental well-being and mental health. And if it is taking 2 minutes to go and sit outside and have a cup of coffee on your own, or have a bath, or go for a walk, you know, whatever that little thing is, but if it's just 5 minutes in a day, if you can do one thing that's for yourself.
Stay hopeful and stay positive and stay connected. But most of all, like, you know what I mean? No shame and having a good cry and reaching out for help.